Chapter 8. Not Miller's Island. I pull my cell out of my back pocket, turn it on, and see that it's still Monday, and it's just now 4:15. So, while Jack and I spent close to 20 hours in the new Bern and Miller's Island of the 1980s, only a couple of hours have passed in this Miller's Island. I don't know what I was expecting when we got home, but I thought we'd return to the classroom, I say. I wonder what Ms. Phillips, or anyone else for that matter, will say about us disappearing from class. Nothing, says Jack. I don't think anyone would have missed us because we didn't belong in that world while we were in the other. My confused expression prompts Jack for more details. I think we can only be in one place at one time. Okay, that makes sense. But what about the time of day? I ask. Whenever I imagined traveling through time, I always thought it'd come back close to the same time I left. Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing, says Jack. I've always thought it would be like water moving through a creek. You can divert the water with a stick or rock and make one path go a little sideways, but in the end, both paths wind up at the same place further downstream. At least, that's how I thought it would work if I jumped through time and then came back. I didn't think I'd lose this much time while I was gone. I don't know, Grace, says Jack. But you know what? We're home now, and that's all that matters. Well, tomorrow should be interesting, I say. Especially since neither one of us has our book bags, homework, or anything. Hopefully it's all still at school, says Jack. The building's probably open if you want to go back and check. No, I think I'd like to go home and see my mom and dad, I say. But I can't seem to make myself get up from the table. It's hard for me to shake the feeling that I need to stay close to Jack. I don't know why I feel this way. It made sense when we were in the 80s, but we're home now. I convince myself I'll feel better when I see my parents. I ignore my intuition and get to my feet. Jack grabs my hand. You know everything's going to be okay, right, Grace? I nod. Talk tomorrow? Tomorrow, says Jack. I give him a smile and wave goodbye to Emma before I leave the beanery. I can't fight the anxiousness building inside me. I want to be home, right now. As soon as I'm far enough away from the beanery that I know Jack can't see me, I run down the sidewalk and into my neighborhood. I feel relief flooding through me when I see my dad's car parked next to my mom's in our driveway. I bang open the front door and call for Neutrino. She runs at me full force, then stops a few feet away. I'm shocked when I see the fur on her back stand on end and hear the soft growl that rumbles through her tiny body. I bend and stretch out my hand to her. She makes no effort to even sniff my fingers, just stares at me, tilting her head sideways. What's going on, girl? I ask. Neutrino takes a few steps closer, sniffs my fingers, then gives me a look and turns away, trotting back into the living room. I follow her and find she's curled up in her bed beside the fireplace. She ignores me as I try to coax her from her bed. I must have picked up some odd time travel scent that's putting her off. I decide to let it go until I've had a shower and washed the day off of me. Eager to see my parents, I leave Neutrino and rush to the kitchen. Calm down, I think. Act normal. Mom and Dad are sitting at the table, drinking glasses of soda. That's odd. Mom doesn't normally keep soda in the house. I grab one from the fridge, thankful for her momentary lapse of reason. How was your day, sweetie? Asks Mom. It was interesting, I say. There's no way I'll ever be able to tell them the truth. Don't get me wrong, my parents have always been supportive of my theories, no matter how outrageous they may seem. Mom actually made a binder of them that she keeps in a cabinet under the built-in shelf in the living room. I made her put it there after she showed the binder to my aunt during one of her visits. So embarrassing. But I'm older now, and I think if I were to tell them what happened, they might think I've lost it. And if for some reason they did believe me and believed time travel was possible, I'm sure they'd put me on lockdown until I was 30. Supper smells great, which is a huge surprise. My mom is awesome in many ways, except when it comes to cooking. What are you making? You're kidding, right? Asks Mom, laughing. It's your favorite, honey thyme chicken with noodles. And then I think she must be kidding. Mom knows my favorite meal is Dad's chicken Alfredo. But you know what? I'm not going to argue because it smells that good. Do I have time for a shower? I ask. Mom looks at the clock on the stove. Yep, you have about 20 minutes. Awesome, I say. Hey, what's up with Neutrino? I ask. Nothing, says Dad. She's been her usual self all day. Why? I don't know. She seems a little mad at me, I say. She probably just missed you, says Dad. 19 minutes, says Mom, prompting me to head upstairs. I go up to my room and immediately pull my notes from my pocket. I'm amazed to see the paper is faded yellow with age. I unfold the paper and find tiny holes in the corners where the paper was folded, but otherwise my notes are still there. I reluctantly slip off my necklace. It's strange, but I feel this small vial somehow connects me to Jack. I stash the necklace and my notes in a hand-carved wooden box that used to belong to my dad. After a hot shower, I feel so much better. I sit on the edge of the bed, working the knots out of my hair, and finally allow myself to think about what has happened. As I process the events of the past several hours, a tidal wave of panic builds, almost erasing any stress relief the hot shower provided. But then all of that panic turns to excitement when I realize that Jack and I have actually traveled through time. I'm still not sure how or even why, but there's no denying that's exactly what we did. I wonder how Jack's doing in his house. It feels weird not having him around. I grab my cell to send him a text, but Mom's calling me down for supper, so I decide to text Jack later. I leave my cell on the bed and go downstairs, where Mom and Dad are waiting for me at the table. I tentatively take a bite of the noodle mixture on my plate, and I'm surprised that it actually tastes as good as it looks. Wow, where did you learn how to cook this? I ask. Where I learned how to cook everything, says Mom. She gives me a curious look. From my mother. Parents are so weird. I wonder why it's taken her so long to cook something like this. Maybe she was just trying to do it her own way all these years without any help from her mother. I decide I don't care as I serve myself a second helping. After supper, I'm so full I pretty much drag myself upstairs and plop onto my bed, immediately drifting into a deep sleep. The next morning, I wake in the same position, feeling a little sore from sleeping the same way all night. I quickly dress and retrieve my notes from the wooden box. It doesn't feel right leaving them behind. I slide them into my back pocket, along with my cell, and turn to find Neutrino standing like a statue right outside my bedroom door. Hey, girl, I say. Neutrino's still acting odd, but she does allow me one little pat on the top of her head before she turns and trots down to my parents' room. We'll go for a walk when I get home, I call after her, as if she understands me. Mom, Dad, see you later, I yell. Eat some breakfast, sweetie, calls Mom. I take a swig of orange juice from the container in the refrigerator and grab a protein bar to eat on my walk to school. For some reason, I can't get the stupid smile off my face. I don't know if it's because I'm just so thankful to be home, or because I know I'll see Jack in a few minutes. Maybe it's both. Or maybe I've finally gotten used to living on Miller's Island. This tiny town now seems like home to me. And although I've just done a few lifetimes of travel, it's my friendship with Aubrey Wilson that seems ages ago. I smile when I see Jack sitting on a low brick wall outside of school, waiting for me. Morning, says Jack, standing to walk inside with me. How'd it go at home? Just a normal night. You? Everything seemed okay, says Jack, Not sure if normal is the right word, though. Something feels a little off, but I can't put my finger on it. One thing's for sure, I haven't slept that good in at least 30 years. Jack gives me a smile. I laugh, remembering how soundly we both slept that night in Lab B. Yeah, me too. Maybe it's some kind of side effect from time. Shh, says Jack. He leans close to me and whispers, "Don't say it out loud. We don't know who might overhear. Let's just call it jet lag." Abigail Barnes walks past us, practically glaring at me. "What's that about?" asks Jack. "Nothing," I say. "It's probably just Abigail being Abigail." The first bell sounds, putting an end to our conversation. "Let's get our stuff from Ms. Phillips' room," I say. "Can't," says Jack. "You know she won't let us in there." How could I have forgotten Mim's strict no interruptions policy? I remember our English teacher, Mr. Abbott, telling a boy he'd have to wait until the next morning to retrieve his English book. He told him the no interruptions policy was created to teach students responsibility. Ugh. I won't be able to get my things until after lunch. That means I'll be hearing the responsibility lecture in every class period until then. I'm headed to PE. See you in science. Jack gives me a smile and heads in the opposite direction of the 8th grade hall. It's a long but mostly typical day at MIMS, until all of a sudden, it isn't. It's lunchtime and I'm sitting at my regular seat, far away from almost everyone else. I usually read a novel during lunch, but since I haven't gone back to Ms. Phillips' room yet, I still don't have my stuff. So today, I use this time to review my notes from Lab B. I'm studying the Fisteria sketch when another person sits down right next to me. "Why didn't you call me last night?" asks Chloe. I'm in such a state of shock, I can't even form a response. I look around the cafeteria, wondering if maybe she didn't realize she's at the wrong table. "Are you talking to me?" I ask, out of complete confusion. Chloe laughs. "Of course I am. So what happened last night?" I can't believe this conversation is actually taking place. More shocking is the fact that Chloe Mitchell is acting like a regular person. This can't be right. I slowly slide away from her, convinced she's got some kind of cruel trick planned. "What happened when?" I ask. "You were supposed to call me. I thought we were going to make plans for this weekend, remember?" Seeing what must be an epic dumb look on my face, Chloe continues. "You're still coming over tonight, aren't you?" Coming over? I don't even know where she lives. And why would I? Chloe hates me. I seriously consider running from the room before lightning strikes. And then it dawns on me. Jack and I are in big trouble. This can't be our Miller's Island. Get yourself together. I shove my notes back into my pocket before Chloe has a chance to see them. "Oh, yeah, sure," I say. "What time?" "Well, if we want to catch the movie, you'll have to come early. How about 4:30? We can grab a burger at Delaney's before we go to the theater." "Sounds good," I say. My throat is suddenly as dry as dust. I down the last of my water so fast that some of it dribbles down my chin. I use the back of my hand to wipe it away. Chloe lowers her voice and leans in closer. "The guys are going to meet us there," she says in a conspiratorial tone. Although I have no idea what she's talking about, it seems paramount that I go along with her, at least for now. "Which ones?" I ask. Chloe seems taken aback by this. "Which ones? How many boys are you interested in?" She giggles. "Boone and Mason, of course." Mason? Mason Sanders? I haven't thought about him in what seems like forever. Thinking of him now, it's hard for me to imagine that I once thought I was so in love with him. I'm having a hard time even remembering what he looks like now. I wonder how Chloe knows about him, wondering why on earth Mason would come to Miller's Island to see a movie. Oh, no. He's meeting me there. And if I'm meeting Mason, I realize what that must mean. Chloe and Jack are boyfriend and girlfriend. I stand up abruptly, nearly knocking over the rest of my water bottle. Sorry, I say, grabbing the cap and twisting it back onto the bottle. I just remembered I need to talk to Ms. Phillips before science class begins. Meet you there? Hang on, says Chloe. Can we talk first? She's looking at me with such a pleading expression that I reluctantly sit back down. You're not going to back out on me tonight, are you? I thought if Mason came, you'd be a little more comfortable around Boone. I know you and Boone got off on the wrong foot when you first moved here, says Chloe. But I've known him all my life. He's a good guy, and I really hope the two of you can be friends. I mean, it's a little awkward that my best friend and my boyfriend can't stand to be around each other. Best friend? Me? I'm really, really glad you moved to Miller's Island, Chloe continues. I'm glad we became friends. So please try to get along with Boone, okay? She asks. I take a few seconds and think hard about what an appropriate response would be before I say, I'll try if he does. I will make sure he does, says Chloe, giving me a smile. I stand up again. So, I'll catch up to you in science? Chloe nods. She digs a novel from her book bag and holds it up. I'm going to try to finish reading this before we go see the movie tonight. I smile and wordlessly take my tray to the trash can. It takes all my effort, but I force myself to walk at a normal pace. When I reach the hallway, I begin breathing again. I decide to hide out in the girls' bathroom until science class. I splash some cold water on my face and am blotting it away when the bell rings. I quickly position myself outside of the science classroom, scanning the crowd for Jack, hoping he'll show up before Chloe does so I can give him some advance warning. Jack finally saunters down the hall and I pull him aside. Something's not right. It's Chloe, I whisper. I'm about to explain when we are interrupted. Hey, Boone, says Chloe. She stretches on tiptoe and hugs him. Hugs him! I don't know who's more surprised. Jack, who stands there with a dazed look on his face, his arms awkwardly hanging by his side, or Chloe, who pulls away, clearly confused by Jack's distance. I press my lips together and nod my head once toward Chloe. Jack takes the hint and hugs her back. Are we going in? Asks Chloe. I'll be right there, says Jack. I need to grab another pencil from my locker. And I'll be in right after I talk to Ms. Phillips. Save me a seat? I ask. Chloe looks from Jack to me and gives an approving smile before she heads into the classroom, followed closely by Abigail. What was that? Asks Jack. Exactly, I say. I glance into the classroom to see Abigail whispering in Chloe's ear, pointing to me and Jack. I know Chloe and I will never be actual friends, but I feel a terrible sense of guilt when she looks up at me, her eyebrows knitted together as Abigail's whispers continue. I'm about to explain everything to Jack when I notice the nameplate on the outside of the door and I freeze. Ms. Phillip, I say, pointing to the name. Yeah, asks Jack. Phillip. It should be Phillips. The bell rings and Ms. Phillip comes to the door. You two are tardy, she says, looking at Jack and then me. You need to go get a tardy slip. Ms. Phillips shuts the door, leaving Jack and me standing in the hallway. I head toward the office, but Jack catches my hand and leads me in the opposite direction, toward the hallway exit. I stop and pull back. Where are we going? I ask. I don't know, but I don't think it matters if we stay here because it's obvious we don't go to this Mims. I follow Jack outside into the brilliant sunshine. Our feet automatically take us down the sidewalk to the beanery. When we open the door, I'm thankful to see that Emma's not working. I'm not sure how she'd take to us skipping school, but then again, the Emma on this Miller's Island is not our Emma. A few minutes later, Jack and I sit in silence as I hold my coffee cup in both hands, trying to warm my fingers. Jack takes a sip of his coffee, then looks into my eyes. "Where are we, Grace?" he asks. "No idea," I say. "Definitely not Miller's Island, or at least not the one we know." I think about how Neutrino's been acting and tell Jack about her behavior toward me. It's almost like she thought I was a stranger. "Maybe she can sense something's not right," says Jack. "If Chloe's being nice to us, something's definitely not right," I say. Jack chuckles. I glance around the coffee shop, taking a silent inventory of everything I see, and that's when I notice it. "When did they put that up?" I ask, pointing to a small photo of the beanery on the other side of the room. The photo shows the 1985 version of the beanery, complete with its red door. "See, it's subtle things like that. Odd things that have been popping up all around me. That's why I said normal wasn't a good way to describe my night. This is definitely not our Miller's Island, but I'd say it's a pretty close version." "Great, a parallel world. But how did we even get here?" I ask. "And why did we come? We identified the bacteria. I thought we would go back home after that." "Maybe that's just half of the story," says Jack. "Identifying the bacteria must have been enough to pull us out of the 80s, but not enough to get us back to our world. That bacterium had to get into the water somehow. Maybe we were supposed to figure out how it happened. Maybe that's why we didn't go back to the real Miller's Island. We're close to solving the mystery, and so we came to a world that is close to the one we know. I think we have to solve the puzzle completely before we'll get back to our real home." Another thought strikes me. Last night, those people treated me like I was their real daughter, and Chloe going on about how you were her boyfriend. Jack makes a face, and I smile, pleased by his reaction. "That must mean some version of you and me lives here." "Yeah," says Jack. "So where are they now?" Jack stares at me. "Maybe it's more than I thought. Maybe we can only be in one place at one time, and only one version of us can be in any one world at one time." "So, do you think the other Jack and Grace were pushed out of this world when we were pulled in? If so, where are they?" "I don't know. But I wonder what they're going to say when they get back here," says Jack. "If they get back here," I say. "Maybe we got that part right, though. Maybe our time traveling won't impact them at all." "Maybe they're just off in some holding place until we leave and they can come back. When they do, they probably won't know anything's been different," says Jack. "In a world where nothing else makes sense, that somehow does make sense," I say. I don't know the other Grace and Jack, and probably never will, but I feel responsible for their displacement. We have to get out of here. We don't know how this will affect the other Grace and Jack, but I'd guess the longer they stay away from their world, the worse it might be for them. "The sooner I can get away from this version of Chloe, the better." I think about my parents and how tonight is taco night. But then again, maybe it isn't. Not in this version of my life. For some reason, I feel I do love the parents and tiny dog I know in this world, but at the same time, I know they are mere ghosts of my real parents in Neutrino. Still, I imagine parents are parents in any world, and if some version of me doesn't get home for supper on time, this mom and dad will probably react the same way my real parents would and come looking for me. I feel a sense of urgency about getting out of here, which is compounded by the chirp of my cell, alerting me to its dying battery. "We better get started," I say. "Otherwise, I don't think you'll enjoy your evening." I explain the double date to Jack, who looks horrified. "Like I said, the sooner, the better," says Jack.